What's up guys, Ivan Carranza here and welcome to Bass Tone Tuesday. Today we're gonna talk about the Ampeg SVT Tone. You've probably heard this amp in countless of recordings, and if you've been to a festival or a big show, you've probably seen and heard one of these. It is a classic sound, and there are pedals and plugins that try to emulate and replicate the type of tone that the SVT has. And therefore, I think it's important to talk about it, because this sound has been used so many times that it's pretty likely that you're gonna run into one of these at some point, maybe as a backline, or you're recording a studio and they have one of these, or in a rehearsal space, or through a plugin, and knowing what kind of tones you can get out of it is pretty useful. For the video, I recorded a couple of different examples in very different genres so that you can get an idea of what the amp can do. Now, I don't own an SVT. They are too expensive, too heavy, and too loud for me to have here in my apartment, but I use a plugin made by Plugin Alliance, which is the Ampeg SVT VR, and it sounds great. Now, I bought that plugin. This is not sponsored by them. I just want to show you guys what this thing can do. And after the samples, we're going to go to my screen and I'm going to show you how the controls work. And that way, hopefully you can, get around the amplifier if you run into one, or if you get the plugin as well at some point. As you could hear, you can get a variety of different sounds out of this amp, ranging from growling rock distortion to a clean slap and fingerstyle tone. Now let's go to my screen to show you how the controls work. Okay guys, we're taking a look at my screen, and here we have the bass track, the instrumental track, and the vocals. And this is how my bass sounds like on its own without any plugins. right? It's a very clean, neutral sounding DI. It was recorded with my Lakland P bass and my Noble DI set flat. And let's open up the plugin. This is how an Ampeg SVT VR looks like. Here on the right, we have the power switch. On the left, we have 4 different inputs, which correspond to 2 different channels. Channel 1, this section. Channel 2, this EQ section. Each one of these channels also has a brighter version of the same channel. And we're going to listen to that also in a second. Now, the first channel has a volume, treble, mid-range, and bass. The second one only has volume, treble, and bass. And on top of the EQ section, we have different switches. The ultra high switch, then we have a variable mid frequency selector. On the left, it's 220 Hertz. The middle position is 800 Hertz. And in the third position is 3 kilohertz. And then we have a bass switch, which on left position cuts off bass frequencies. Then it is off. And then we have the ultra low, which is, for example, what I use for the reggae sample. On channel 2, we only have the ultra high and ultra low. There's no mid frequency here. Now let's listen to how the bass sounds like with and without the plugin. So now it's disengaged, and I'm going to turn it on while we're playing. With the plugin. Without. With. Now to listen to that in the mix, I might have to move the volume a bit. So with the plugin. Without. With. Now that was on the bright channel. Now let's listen to how the normal channel sounds like. Big difference, right? The channel 1 on the normal input is a lot more distorted, has a lot more low end. And the cool thing about the plugin is that you have this effects rack. So I'm going to open it up, and you have this section. And here you have different microphones that you can pick, and they sound also very different from each other. But you have this input gain and power soak, which is like the best thing about this, because you can push the input gain or pull back on the gain, and then control how loud the amp actually is with the power soak. So if I want, there's a big volume difference. If I want to have that sound though, I can just pull back on the power soak. Let's listen to that in the mix, for example. Without. With. It's very thick. It's a lot more consistent because we're pushing a bit of drive there, so it's getting naturally compressed by the tube emulation that's happening here. Now, if we don't want to have that drive, we can just pull back on the input, and I'm going to listen to the bass only. And now it's pretty clean. Now listen to that in the mix. With and without. right? So you get a lot of features here. So that's a big difference. Now you have here on the left a noise gate, which is very useful if you're really pushing the drive. And you also have some low pass and high pass filters, which also really help to control the sound of the amp. One of the things that I like to do is to experiment with the switches on top. So I'm gonna just pick the same input that we have right now. I'm gonna loop a different section, maybe this one. I'm gonna turn on the ultra high. Let's to add in the mix. It's a very big difference. It's a lot more bitey, much more aggressive. Now let's listen to the mid-range. I'm gonna boost a lot. I'm pushing a lot of 220 Hertz, so it is starting to distort. Or 800. It's pretty scooped. Now 3K. Right, and now let's listen to the bass switch here. Bass cut, off, bass cut, now the ultra low. That is really, really thick. If you press the ultra high and the ultra low, you get a really scooped sound. So it's a very cool amp, and you can get, like I said, a lot of different sounds out of it just by experimenting with the caps. And of course, you have a real one, you're pretty much stuck with the cap you have, but you can get a lot of different sounds by changing different channels and using different amounts of input and volume, using the switches, and it allows quite a bit of flexibility, but it always has this thick and punchy low end. I hope you guys found the video helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the content that's coming to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.